देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामे गौरत्विषे नमः नमो ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते सप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to session number 6. We are going to have some very interesting discussion today. We dedicate this session to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my beloved spiritual master and the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So today, we are going to start a brand new shloka, and that is shloka number 21. And let's see how many sessions we can start and cover today. So we have very interesting discussion now. This is the first time in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna is speaking. As I have already told you earlier, Bhagavad Gita has a nested conversation. So there are two dialogues that are happening constantly, simultaneously, happening between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra, and another conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So this is a nested conversation. So now the focus is shifted back on Arjuna, and this is the first time that Arjuna is going to speak. Kindly repeat after me. Arjuna uvacha senayor madhye ratam tapameva achyuta yavateta niriksheham yodukamanavasthitam kairmaya sahayodavyam अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे Wonderful. Let's do that once again. Arjuna Uvacha Senayor Madhye Ratam Stapayame Achyuta Yavaddeta Niriksheham Yotukamanavasthitan Kailmaya Saha Yodavyam Asmin Radasamudyame. Wonderful. Please repeat the translation. Arjuna said, please repeat, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So here, very interestingly, Arjuna Uvacha Senayor Ubayor Madhye. So Arjuna is saying, my dear Krishna, Achyuta, please take the chariot in between the two armies. Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratam Stapayame Achyuta. So this is a very surprising request from Arjuna, because he's saying here, I want to see who is there on the other side, as if he doesn't know. He's requesting to see something which is already known. He already knows who is there on the other side. To the extent that he also knows that even Karna is not there, because all those things are already finalized, and in the previous discussion we have concluded and seen that how Karna is not in the side of the Kauravas. Right now he is not fighting. So all those people, great warriors on the side of the Kauravas, is already known to Arjuna, but still here is asking, my dear Achyuta, please take this chariot in between. Just like this, imagine there is a cricket match, and in a cricket match there are both the teams all have nicely assembled on the cricket field. The fielders and the batsmen, the bowlers, everybody is ready, and just when the match is about to begin, when the bowler is about to go and ball his first ball, that is when, at that moment, the batsman is calling out to the other batsmen on the rear end, and both of them now are coming together and began a conversation. They start a conversation. So that kind of a situation it is. Now when just the match is about to begin, that is when both the batsmen together on the pitch, they are discussing something. So what happens is, all other, the spectators and other field members, they are all watching, hey, what's happening here? So that's exactly the situation here. See, just before, the day before the match, the teams get to know who are the 11 players playing on both the sides. Until they get to know, there is some sort of that element of surprise, and they want to know, they're curious who will be the 11th player. All that is there a day before. But here, when they are on the field, it is very clear who is playing, who are the players. So Arjuna is in a similar position. He knows who are the players on the Kaurava side, but still he is asking, oh, Achyuta, please take my chariot. I want to see. It's very interesting here. Now you see here, Arjuna is taking the name of Krishna as Achyuta. Another very interesting name of Krishna is Achyuta. Achyuta means one who never falls down from his position. One who never commits mistakes in his life is called Achyuta. We also have Achyuta Achyutan sir here. So Achyuta means one who never falls down from his position. Why is Arjuna trying to use this or using this word is because Krishna, the Supreme Lord, has taken the position, a very menial position of a chariot driver. That is why it is very important to know this word Achyuta. Although he has taken a very lower position, a menial position of a chariot driver, Krishna's position is not low. He is Achyuta always. He never commits mistakes. Whereas we, human beings, we have an inherent defect within us to commit mistakes. To commit mistakes is an inherent defect in human beings. Not just mistakes, sometimes we even commit blunders. Isn't it? So human beings, we have an inherent nature to commit mistakes. But Lord Krishna is referred here as Achyuta, never falls down from his position. Why is he? You just imagine, for a Kshatriya, it's a great insult if he is being asked to take a position of a chariot driver. It is a very menial position for a king to take. And that happened. It's a very beautiful example on battlefield of Kurukshetra on the 16th or the 17th day, when Duryodhana, he is going to Shalya and is asking, can you become the charioteer of Karna? And Shalya was offended because Shalya said, I am a king. Duryodhana, how can you ask me to become a charioteer? That is not possible. And that too you are asking me to become a charioteer of Sudaputra, Karna. He himself is the son of a charioteer and you are asking me to become a charioteer of this person, Karna. I will not become. He was deeply offended. And Shalya was not ready to take that position. But finally, of course, Duryodhana is diplomatic, you know how he convinces. So that is how it's a great insult for a Kshatriya to take this lower position. But here, Lord Krishna is taking up that position. If you ask a person who is having tens and hundreds of cars to become a chauffeur for someone, he will be offended. He will not take up that position. But Krishna is called Achyuta. He is Achyuta. He never fails in his affection for his devotees. No matter what, even if he has to take a smaller position, he is ready to take that position because he has that love and affection for his devotees. He never fails to display and exhibit his affection towards his devotees. Just like a Prime Minister. When a Prime Minister having a meeting with so many other Chief Ministers, he is very grave. He talks so many political things. He commands respect. But the same Prime Minister, when his office, when he is sitting in his office and his grandson or grandchild, they enter the office and the grandchild says, Dada, now you become a horse. I want to play on your back. You become a horse. The same Prime Minister, he will bend down and he will become a horse for the grandson and grandchild. Is it not? Why? Because love and affection the Prime Minister has for the grandchild. And in order to fulfill the desire of the grandchild, he readily agrees to take that lower position and become a ghoda. Chal mere ghode, tuk tuk tuk. You know, that is how the child dominates the Prime Minister. But that doesn't mean the Prime Minister has become lower in his position. No. So similarly, Achyuta, although he has taken a very menial position, his position remains the highest. Now Krishna is the Prime Minister of the whole universe and he is taking this position because he has love and affection. And mind you, my dear listeners, it is very interesting point in the battlefield when the war is happening, when the soldiers are fighting, there is a clash between the weapons and it creates a lot of noise. And there are war cries everywhere. So there is a lot of noisy situation in the war. And that is when the king sitting on the chariot, in order to direct the charioteer, the driver, he has to kick on the shoulder of the driver. if he has to take a left turn, he will kick on the left shoulder. On the right shoulder when he wants to take a right turn. So Krishna is taking that position to accept the kicks of Arjuna on the shoulder. Can you imagine? That is the Bhakta Vatsalyata of the Supreme Lord. That is the love. And even in the battlefield, when once Bhishma had overpowered Arjuna and was shooting arrows, and he had injured Arjuna with so many arrows. And that is the point when Krishna, who has taken the promise that he will not lift any weapons in the battle of Kurukshetra, he gets down of the chariot, he takes the wheel of the chariot and is ready, he is rushing towards Bhishma to attack Bhishma. Why? Because of the Bhakta Vatsalyata. He is ready to break his own promise to protect his devotees. That is the affection that Lord Krishna has for his devotees. In the case of Bhakta Prahlada, we have seen that how the small tender boy was harassed by his own father Hiranyakashipu. But then, just to prove Prahlada's words come true, to ensure that Prahlada's devotion is glorified, the Supreme Lord comes out of the pillar in the form of Narsimha and kills and slays Hiranyakashipu. Why? Because he loves his devotee. So my dear listeners, when we also, through this understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, develop some love and affection, some devotional attitude towards that Supreme Lord Krishna, that same Lord Krishna who protected Arjuna will also protect us. Because we are also going through a lot of tribulations in our own lives, to different degrees, in different situations. Is it not? We all are having lots of problems. Time and again, we want to solve some problems, but then problems keep popping up in our life. So in order to have a smooth ride, or rather to say, being guided by the instructions of Lord Krishna is the greatest protection that we can get. And that is why we need to understand this Bhagavad Gita systematically, very systematically, so that we also get the same protection like Arjuna did. Extremely important. And that is our ultimate purpose also. We are here all together. Why? Because we want to come together and understand Bhagavad Gita and seek the protection of the Lord, so that we can cross over this material ocean smoothly. Extremely important. So let's go to the next verse, 23rd verse. And by the way, at this point of time, Arjuna, he was all ready to fight. He has not decided anything as of now. He is all ready to fight. But then, what happens when he looks at the opponents? Let's see what happens. The 23rd sloka. Yotyamana viksheham Jayete trasamagataha. Dhatarashtrasya durbuddhe Yuddhe priya chikirshavaha. Wonderful. Let's do that once again. Yudhyamanana viksheham Jayete trasamagataha. Dhatarashtrasya durbuddhe Yuddhe priya chikirshavaha. Wonderful. Please repeat the translation. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Wonderful, very nice. Yotsemanam aviksheham akshe. Aksha means I, avikshe. In the previous words also, Arjuna has used this word. Very nicely. Kairmaya yodavyam asmin ranasamudhyame yavaneta nirikshe. He says nirikshe, akshe. And here he is using aviksheham. Aksha means to see through the eyes. We say pratyaksha pramana. Prati aksha. To understand the reality through the senses is called pratyaksha pramana. We will discuss this in detail in our future topics. It's extremely important. How we acquire knowledge, extremely important. So pratyaksha pramana, aviksheham. So what here Arjuna is saying here, if you see, samagataha, ete trat samagataha. Practically, literally, the whole world, kings belonging to different parts of the world, all of them have come and gathered on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Earlier, 5,000 years ago, the whole planet Earth was called Bharata Bhumi, Bharata Varsha. So that is how kings from different regions have assembled here, either taking the side of Kauravas or taking the side of the Pandavas. So the whole world practically is divided into two, the Pandavas section and the Kauravas section. So that is how, if you analyze, like for example Jayadratha. Jayadratha is from Australia, Shalya is from Siberia, and if you see Shakuni is from Kandahar, the present Kandahar, which is in Afghanistan. So if you see, all these great kings actually belong to the different parts of the world. That was how the world was distributed earlier. So all of them have now come, and why they have come? Dhatrashtrasya durbuddhe. Durbuddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. We all have intelligence. Intelligence we use to create so many beautiful things. But durbuddhe means that misguided evil intelligence which is used to cause harm to others, that is called as durbuddhe. Misguided evil intelligence which is used to give harm, to create harm to others, is called durbuddhe. Yuddhe priye chikirshavaha. So all this durbuddhi people have assembled on the side of Kauravas. They have taken the side of the son of Dhritarashtra. Extremely important. If you see, our Shastras explain that there are 6 types of aggressors. 6 types of aggressors. Aggressors means one who creates problems to others. They are called aggressors. One who hurts others. They are called aggressors. And when people use their intelligence to hurt others, they are called durbuddhe. And this is a very befitting word used by Arjuna to explain the side of the son of Dhritarashtra, that is Duryodhana. This Duryodhana, let us see, there are 6 aggressors. Who are those 6 aggressors? A poison giver, number 1. One who gives poison to others is an aggressor. Number 2, one who sets fire to others' homes is also an aggressor. Number 3, one who attacks with deadly weapons is also an aggressor. Number 4, one who plunders others' riches. Who has lot of wealth, you go and plunder them, then we become aggressor. Number 5, one who kidnaps others' wives is also an aggressor. Number 6, one who steals, one who captures others' property and land, he is also an aggressor. So there are these 6 aggressors. And if you see the life of Duryodhana, he is not just one type of aggressor, he actually fits into all the 6 categories of aggressors. Number 1, poison giver. When Bhima was quite young, they were all small children, Duryodhana had made an attempt to give poison to Bhima. So he became an aggressor. Set fire to others' home. When they had gone to Lakshagraha. Lakshagraha was burned to ensure that the Pandavas are dead. So he became the second aggressor there. Third aggressor, attacks with deadly weapons. There were many instances in the Mahabharata where Duryodhana has used deadly weapons, especially in the Swayamvara of Draupadi and many other places. They used deadly weapons to attack the Pandavas. Number 4, one who plunders the riches in that very infamous gambling match. We all know that how Shakuni and Duryodhana took away all the riches of Indraprastha, of Yudhishthira. Isn't it? So he became an aggressor there. And one who kidnaps the wife of others. Although the Kauravas did not kidnap Draupadi, but they insulted in that again infamous Asat Sabha, the gambling match. They tried to insult Draupadi by stripping her naked. So that was again an aggression. That is also considered to be an aggression. Attacking somebody else's wife. And number 6, capturing others' land. He wanted to ensure that everything belongs to him and nothing belongs to Pandava. Although the Pandavas had the right over the kingdom, but then Duryodhana wanted to assert all the properties of the Pandavas. And that is what has led to this ghastly war that we are all seeing today in the form of Battle of Kurukshetra. So Durbuddhehe, so this Durbuddhi was there in Duryodhana and he actually transgressed all these different types of aggressions. Very, very important to know. In the olden days, in the ancient Vedic times, when anybody used to be an aggressor, it is the responsibility of the king to immediately finish that person, to give him the capital punishment, hang him to death. Because that was seen from the spiritual perspective, so that he does not create further disturbance in the society, capital punishment was given to them. It is not like today's modern Kali Yuga kind of judgment where cases like Nirbhaya, it took so many years to come to one conclusion and give a decision. Earlier kings were not like that. When they know that he is an aggressor, they will give him immediate capital punishment. And it is important, not just for the soul within that person, but also for the society, so that there is no disturbance created. So all these things have to be understood, very important. So here Duryodhana is referred to as Durbuddhehe. He is an aggressor and he has to be punished, and he will be punished here. Very, very nicely he will be punished in this battlefield of Kurukshetra. So now let's go to the next one. By the way, if you have any questions, please mention that in the comment section, and I will take those questions once we come to the last section. We will definitely take those questions. Any point of time you have any questions, please feel free to mention that in the comment section. Alright, so let's go to shloka number 24. Please repeat. Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Mukto Rishikecho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayor Madhye Stapayidva Rathottamam. Let's repeat that again. Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Mukto Rishikecho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayor Ubayor Madhye Stapayidva Rathottamam. Fantastic. So let's repeat the translation. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, being thus addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. So wonderful, very nice. So now again the attention is shifted back to Sanjaya. So Sanjaya is speaking here now. What is he saying? Evam mukto Rishikesho. Rishikesha. We have already understood in the previous discussion in the slokas. What is the meaning of Rishikesha? Rishikesha means one who controls the senses. Gudakeshena Bharata. So Bharata. Who is a Bharata? Anybody who is coming in the lineage of Maharaj Bharat, after whom we are all called as Bharatavamshis, or this place, this tract of land is called Bharatavarsha, is named after the king Maharaja Bharat, a very, very auspicious, a very, very great king. Maharaj Bharat was. He was a very pious king. So Bharata, this is the only instance in the Bhagavad Gita where Dhritarashtra is addressed as Bharata. Rest everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is referred as Bharata. But in this section, in this shloka, Dhritarashtra is referred as Bharata because they are all coming from the same lineage, Bharata. And why Sanjaya is using this word Bharata is also to tell Dhritarashtra, oh see Dhritarashtra, such an unfortunate situation. A very unfortunate situation. You are coming in the lineage of great Maharaja Bharat, but you are acting impiously, irreligiously. It is not befitting you. Coming in the lineage of Bharata, it is not right, Dhritarashtra. So that is what he is trying to indicate here to Dhritarashtra. Evam mukto Gudakeshena Bharata. Who is Gudakesha? Very interesting. Arjuna's another name is Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep. Isha means controller. Gudakesha means one who has controlled sleep is called Gudakesha. Are we Gudakeshas? No, we are not Gudakeshas. We all get so tired and we want to sleep. We become very sleepy. In fact, I don't know, I am not able to see some of you. Maybe listening to me right now, also some of you may be dozing off. If you are dozing off, please don't do that. Become Gudakesha at least for the next few minutes. It's important. So Gudakesha, please control over your sleep. So Arjuna is called Gudakesha because he had conquered sleep. How? Long time back when Arjuna, the Pandavas and the Kauravas were in the Gurukula of Dronacharya, they were learning archery and they were learning the military science in the school, in the Gurukula of Dronacharya. Once it so happened that in the night, while sleeping, Arjuna heard some sound. And he woke up and he started following that sound. And then, by following that sound, it led him into a kitchen. And there, it was pitch dark. He could not see anything or anybody. And then, as he was going forward, he touched someone. It was not difficult for him to know and recognize who is that person because he could know and understand that it is none other than his own brother, Bhima. Hey, Bhima, my brother, what are you doing here in the kitchen? And Bhima said, Arjuna, I'm very hungry and that's why I'm here. And Arjuna was like, hey, but how are you eating? It's so dark here. How are you able to see the food? And moreover, how are you able to put that food in your mouth without seeing the food? And Bhima said, my brother, experience, That was a eureka moment for Arjuna. Arjuna thought, if my brother Bhima can eat food, put food in his mouth without seeing, in pitch dark, why not me, why not I go out in the pitch dark and shoot arrows and learn how to shoot arrows in the dark? And that is when Arjuna decided that I will not sleep in the night. And Arjuna started practicing archery even in the night, in the pitch dark. And there is a special art in the archery called Shabdabhedi. Shabdabhedi means just by hearing the sound, he can shoot the arrow at the target. That's called Shabdabhedi. You must be aware, in Ramayana also, when our great father of Lord Ramachandra, that is Dashrath Maharaj, when he was hunting in the forest, he thought, oh, I hear the sound of a deer which is drinking water. He heard the sound and he shot an arrow, and then unfortunately it was not a deer but he was Shravana Kumara. And that is how he was cursed also. I am just trying to convey the point that how in the olden days the kings, great archers, had the ability to shoot arrows at the target just by listening the sound, not even looking at that object. So that is how Arjuna was practicing even in the night, and when Drona came and asked him, Dronacharya, oh Arjuna, what are you doing in the pitch dark in the night? And Arjuna said, my dear Guru Dev, I am practicing archery. And Dronacharya was so pleased. He said, he is my favorite student and I am going to give him Astra Shastra knowledge completely to Arjuna. That was how pleased Dronacharya was on Arjuna. So that is why he is called and referred here as Gudakeshena Bharata. So that is how previously the names were kept based on the qualities of a person. Now we need to identify what are the qualities in us. So we have to identify and keep ourselves some names. Unfortunately, we don't understand our qualities unless we really grow up. And also when we grow up, not very good qualities come up. Most of the time it is mixed, good and bad qualities. Anyway, so here Gudakesha means one who has conquered three. It refers to Arjuna. Senayor Ubayor Madhye Stapayitva Ratottamam. So what did Krishna did? Krishna, taking the orders from Arjuna, Stapayitva Ratottamam. He has stopped the chariot now in between both the armies. And let's see what happens next. So please repeat after me. Bhishmadrona Pramukataha Sarvesham Jamahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyetam Samavetan Kurumniti. Fantastic. So let's do that once again. Bhishmadrona Samukataha. I'll repeat that again. Bhishmadrona Pramukataha Sarvesham Jamahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyetam Samavetan Kurumniti. Please repeat the translation. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all of the chieftains of the world, Rishikesha, the Lord, said, just behold, Partha, all the Gurus who are assembled here. Alright, so sloka number 25, so very interesting here. Bhishmadrona Pramukataha Now Krishna is also very interestingly, very intelligent, and he takes this Ratha chariot right before Bhishma and Drona. So Krishna has already understood what is going on in the mind of Arjuna. He could understand Arjuna is getting bewildered. So now he has taken this Ratha in front of Bhishma and Drona. So Bhishma was the commander-in-chief for the first 10 days of the Mahabharata Yuddha, and Drona was the commander-in-chief for the 5 days. After Bhishma, he was the commander-in-chief for 5 days. Now Bhishma and Drona, they both are very, very dear to Arjuna. You see, after Pandu being cursed by Kindama Muni in the forest when he was roaming with Kunti and Madri, unfortunately while he was hunting, he shot arrow at Kindama Muni and his wife, who had taken the form of a deer. But then Kindama Muni cursed back Pandu that he will die when he attempts to unite with his wife. And after all the Pandavas were born, there was that unfortunate incident where Pandu died. And then Madri followed him. Now Kunti all alone, one single lady who is widow, who is already so much into pain because she has lost her husband, and now she is taking these young children, 5 sons, to Hastinapura, which is such a hostile environment. So it was very tough for Kunti because she was not very nicely welcomed at Hastinapura because of Dhritarashtra's sons and Dhritarashtra himself. So it was not a very good situation. So for the Pandavas, it was Bhishma, a fatherly figure. They were very attached to Bhishma. And this same Arjuna, when he was a small boy, he used to sit on the lap of Bhishma and he used to dirty all the clothes, the white clothes of Bhishma. And Bhishma would never mind that because he was so affectionate towards all the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu. And Dronacharya, even Dronacharya was so pleased with Arjuna, and equally Arjuna was so respectful, and he loved his great teacher Dronacharya. And now both of them, they're right in front of him, before him, ready to fight. What a situation it is for Arjuna. A terrible situation indeed. I mean, we have not faced a situation like this. So, it's not easy for Arjuna to fight against his own relatives. It's extremely difficult for him. And this is the sloka number 25, where Krishna is speaking indirectly. Krishna has not still begun his own talks on Bhagavad Gita, his instruction. But indirectly in this shloka, Krishna is speaking because it is being narrated by Sanjaya. So just behold, Krishna is saying, just behold, O Arjuna. So indirectly, the very first time Krishna is speaking in this verse. Directly he will speak in the second time. So this is the situation now. He has seen both Drona and Bhishma in front of him, and after looking at them, let's see what happens next in sloka number 26. It's very interesting now. Let's see what Arjuna is going to reveal. What is his mindset? Let's understand that. Tatra pashyat sthitan partha pitran nata pitamahan pitran nata pitamahan pitran nata pitamahan Is it visible to you on the screen, the shloka? Oh, no problem. Don't worry about the mistakes. It's absolutely fine. Acharyan matulan bhratran putran pautran sakim sata shoshuran suhridaschaiva senayorubayorapi. Fantastic. So let's do that once again. Tatra pasyasthritan partah pitrannata pitamahan acharyan matulan bhratran putran pautran sakim sata shoshuran suhridaschaiva senayorubayorapi. It's just a matter of practice. You will all get used to this Sanskrit very soon. Please repeat the translation. There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers, all present there. Thank you so much. So very interestingly here, you see, Arjuna is looking at all the great personalities standing before him. He is seeing his own father-like figures. So many of the age of his own fathers like Pandu and Dhritarashtra, of that caliber. He is seeing his grandfathers like Bhishma Pitamaha. He is seeing his teachers, Gurun. There are so many people like Dronacharya, his teachers, maternal uncles. Shalya was there, who is a maternal uncle because he had a stepmother, Madri, and Madri's brother is Shalya. So Shalya is fighting on the side of the Kauravas and he is supposed to be the maternal uncle of the Pandavas. And Shakuni also happens to be the maternal uncle of Duryodhana. So even he is there fighting, so maternal uncles are there. And brothers, own Duryodhana, the other Pandavas, all brothers are together now, ready to fight. Sons, earlier we have mentioned in the previous slokas how all the Pandava sons were there. Abhimanyu was there. And Duryodhana also had a son called Lakshmana. So Lakshmana also was there fighting on the side of the Kauravas. So sons were there, grandsons were there. Can you imagine? Even grandsons. Lakshmana, who is the son of Duryodhana, he had his sons, Lakshmana's sons. Even they were present before Arjuna now, grandsons, ready to fight. And then his father-in-laws, like Drupada, who is the father of Draupadi, even he is fighting, father-in-law, and well-wishers, friends are there. Friends like Ashwatthama, even he is fighting. Well-wisher is Kritavarma. Kritavarma is the commander-in-chief of the Narayani Sena. This Narayani Sena belonged to Krishna. And he said that, okay, Duryodhana, you take it. And Kritavarma was a very great well-wisher of Arjuna. They were very, very good friends. But now see the situation. This Narayani Sena, which was led by Kritavarma, is fighting on the side of Kauravas against Arjuna. See, in our life also, when we have some family gatherings, it's a very joyful event, isn't it? When we all go for a marriage party where we see all the varieties of relatives who have assembled, and we talk and we exchange greetings, we share so many of our wonderful events, and we are all very joyful when we all come together. That is another thing now in Kali Yuga. It is very difficult for people, family members to gather, because the children are somewhere, they are in different countries, the parents are in different countries, and they're all dispersed. They're all not staying together. That's a very unfortunate situation in Kali Yuga. So parents are separate, children are separate, everybody is away, and most important events also, we are not together. So these kind of things we have seen. So here, all these family members of different grades, different relatives, all have gathered to fight against each other. That is why Arjuna is concerned now. He feels that this is not an ordinary situation. This is a very tough situation for him. Extremely difficult situation for Arjuna. So we should understand what the terrible situation is. If we were in this kind of a situation where we were to fight our own relatives, it would be very tough for us. We would go in anxiety, so much of depression. And that is going to happen for Arjuna also, going forward. So all these different categories of relatives are here. And now, the next sloka, the 27th sloka, is actually telling us the Vishada. He is going to explain to us the Vishada of Arjuna. That is why the title of the very first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So 27th sloka is actually going to explain to us that Vishada. Let's see what is that 27th sloka. Extremely important. Tan Samiksha Kaunteya. Okay, both are saying. Roma is also there. Okay, great. Both of you can chant. Sarvan Bandhun Navastitan. Kripaya Paraya Vishto. Vishidan Nidam Abrave. Wonderful. Okay, Roma, you can come now. Let's do that once again. Tan Samiksha Kaunteya. Okay, let's repeat that. Please repeat after me. Tan Samiksha Kaunteya. Sarvan Bandhun Navastitan. Okay, looks like there is some audio issue there. Kripaya Parayadishto. Vishidan Nidam Abrave. Okay, looks like there was some audio issue. No problem. So Sudha Singh ji, please repeat the translation after me. I will display that on the screen. Please repeat. When the son of Kunti Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives. He became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Yes, so very, very, very interesting. Very interesting now. So here, Arjuna, Tam Samiksha Kaunteya, Sarvan Bandhun Avasthitan, Kripaya Paraya Vishto, Vishidhan Nidam Apravit. So that Vishada has now come into his heart. Previously, when Duryodhana, he saw the army of the Pandavas, what happened to Duryodhana? He became all pumped up. All his diplomatic qualities, his leadership qualities, all pumped into him, and then he started exhibiting his qualities of diplomacy, isn't it? So he was all ready to fight. That was what happened when Duryodhana saw the army of the Kaurava, of the Pandavas. But here, when Arjuna is seeing the opponents, he is not seeing the warriors, he is actually seeing his relatives now. He is seeing all the different grades of relatives. So Arjuna is now seeing not the warriors but his relatives. So Duryodhana saw, when he saw the army, he became all pumped up, ready to fight. But whereas Arjuna, when he saw the army, what is happening to Arjuna? He is developing compassion. Arjuna is now thinking, oh, these are all my relatives. How can I fight? He is developing compassion within his heart. So Duryodhana saw and Arjuna saw. But when Krishna saw the army, what happened? When Krishna glanced at the armies of both the Pandavas and the Kauravas, he reduced the lifespan of all these people less than 18 days. That is what happened. When the Supreme Lord Krishna, he glanced at the armies of the Pandavas and Kauravas, he reduced their lifespan to 5 days, 6 days, 10 days, 15 days, whatever, based on their respective karma. Krishna reduced their lifespan, and this is confirmed by Bhishma Pitamaha in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhishma is saying that how, oh dear Krishna, when you saw the armies, you reduced the lifespan of each and everything and the soldiers. So that is what happened there. So now we should understand that this Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, here what is happening to Arjuna? When everybody is ready to fight, he is remembering all the old memories that he had with his own relatives. He is remembering all those memories here. Very interesting. Why such compassion is developing in Arjuna's heart? This is not the first time that Arjuna is fighting with these people, his relatives, isn't it? In the whole Mahabharata, there were many incidents before also that how Arjuna has already fought with his own grandfather Bhishma, with his brothers, during the time of Virata, when they all came to attack Virata kingdom. That is when Arjuna fought very valiantly with his own grandfather Bhishma and his brother. And his teacher also, Dronacharya, Karna was there. So all these people in the battlefield of Virata, he fought against them. So this is not the first time. Even during Draupadi Swayamvara, he fought with them. So that time he was not developing, but why now? So Ved Vyasa is very nicely explained to all of us here that when a person he wants to escape from his duty, when he doesn't want to execute his duties, What people do is, we take the shelter of some irrational reasons and we want to give away, we want to give up our duties. That happens with most of us. That is exactly what Arjuna is doing now. In the name of dharma, in the name of relatives and friends, he gradually wants to step back and say, no, I don't want to fight. He is not willing to fight. So this weakness, Vishada means the weakness of the mind. So why does this weakness of the mind come upon us? It is because of our attachment to our friends and relatives. My dear listeners, we also have attachment towards our own friends and relatives. And to many things of this world, we have developed attachment. So this attachment creates moha, illusion. We start thinking something which is not real to be real. We take something to be real when it is actually not real. So that is called illusion, moha. So when this moha covers us because of attachment, what happens? We develop vishada. Manodaurbalyam. Manodaurbalyam means the weakness of the mind. We develop weakness of the mind, vishada. And what this vishada does within us? This vishada, weakness of the mind, it checks our duties. It stops us from performing our duties. We all have certain duties. As a father, as a mother, as a husband, as a wife, as a friend, as a responsible citizen, we all have different duties. But when we are overpowered by illusion, this attachment, we become confused about our duties. Extremely confused about our duties. And that vishada is what's happening. And now, when we are overpowered by this vishada, we don't want to execute the duties, we start rationalizing. We start giving some rational ideas to convince ourselves and others that it is not good to do this particular duty. Now Arjuna is going to do that. It is said, Sarva Vyapara Uparamaha. Sarva Vyapara Uparamaha means when we want to step back from our duties, we give up our lot of rational ideas and thinking to escape. So such escapism is commonly seen in human beings, but now we should not take up this kind of escapism, escapist mentality, which Arjuna is displaying here. Very, very important. So here Arjuna is representing all of us. Although Arjuna is on the battlefield and he is about to fight, but actually this whole Bhagavad Gita, whatever Arjuna is asking questions going forward to Krishna, is actually our questions. All these various questions we have our own mind, in our minds, which are unresolved. Since our childhood, we want to know certain truths and reality of this life and about the universe, about this life, which are not resolved. We want to know all these things. So these same questions which we have been asked by Arjuna, who is representing all of us, to Krishna. And Krishna will answer all of them very nicely, one by one. So that is what happens when we also face lot of difficult situations. Dharma sankat. हम लोग कहते हैं ना, when we say that dharma sankat हो गया. Dharma sankat means we are in duality. We should do or we should not do. So many times we face such situations. That is why this Vishada is come upon now. So this section of the Bhagavad Gita, with this section we finish the first portion of Sainya Nirikshana Yoga completes here. At verse number 21 to 27 is Sainya Nirikshana Yoga. All the different warriors and warfare, everybody is being described. From now, going forward from verse number 28, Arjuna is going to present very nice arguments to Krishna why he is not supposed to fight. He tells the Krishna, no, I'm not going to fight because of this reason. Arjuna is confused, but his confusion is organized confusion. It's not ordinary confusion like that. Arjuna's confusion is also very organized, and he gives very interesting arguments telling that Arjuna, no, I don't want to fight. And what are those reasons? Let us check. In the very first session I had described the division of this whole chapter 1. I have displayed that on the screen. So chapter 1 is divided basically into two sections. Section 1, 1 to 27, verse number is Sainya Nirikshana Yoga. In this first section there are three subsections. 1 to 11 verse is the preparation for war. Verse number 12 to 20 is signs of victory of Pandavas. And subsection 3, that is verse number 21 to 27, is Krishna as Bhaktavatsala. And now, going forward in the next session, we will begin the new section where Arjuna is putting forward various reasons why we should not have this fight. We should not fight. And what are those reasons? Number 1, compassion. Number 2, enjoyment. Number 3, fear of sinful reaction, papa. Number 4, destruction of family traditions. And number 5, indecision. So all the different reasons Arjuna is going to put forward, and Krishna one by one is going to resolve this confusion, this organized confusion of Arjuna. So now with this, let's complete today's session discussing. I don't want to go to the next section because it's going to be very interesting going forward. But let us take some questions. I see that some of you have asked me questions. So let's take some questions. So Dev Chandan is asking, I wanted to ask whether even today can we control or reduce our sleep to a certain extent like Arjuna. Okay, good question. Can we also become Gudakesha? Extremely possible. It is definitely possible. In the last decade or so, since I have taken spirituality and I have been practicing Krishna consciousness, I also used to like to sleep a lot. I was attached to sleep. Sleeping gives us pleasure. The more we sleep, we think that, oh, I am enjoying. It's kind of an enjoyment. Sleeping is an enjoyment. But then, all those who are really seeking to go forward in spiritual life, it is recommended that we reduce our sleep gradually. So in the last 15 years or so of my spiritual practice, I have seen that gradually, as my interest develops in spirituality, in understanding Bhagavad Gita and practicing spiritual life, gradually it is faded. My sleep, attachment to sleep is reducing. So generally I sleep for 6 to 6.5 hours on an average, and gradually it is reducing. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, used to sleep only for 2 hours in a day. So that is extremely possible, but by practice. And at the same time, you need to develop a higher attachment. We cannot give lower attachment unless we develop a higher attachment. So when you start developing higher taste for spiritual life, then all the lower taste for sleeping and eating, all those things will reduce gradually. It is possible. We can also become Gudakesha. If not to the extent of Arjuna where he could control completely, but at least we can reduce to some extent. So that is possible. And the next question Chaitanya is asking very interestingly here, who is more dearer to God? One who performs his duties, responsibilities and follows dharma, or somebody who leaves all his duties aside without performing and just pray God? So, yeah, very interesting question, and this is exactly what Krishna is going to address in the 3rd chapter also that what is karma? Karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So there are a lot of things we will discuss about karma. So basically what Krishna is saying here to Arjuna also, he is telling Arjuna, don't give up fighting. The whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna to Arjuna to inspire Arjuna to fight, to perform his duty as a Kshatriya. Arjuna is telling, no, I want to back off. But Krishna is saying, no, you have to fight. This is your duty as a Kshatriya and you have to do this. You have to perform your duties. So Bhagavad Gita is spoken to inspire Arjuna to perform his duties. So definitely we cannot escape from duties. We have to do our duties. But some people, in the name of praying to God, they want to give up their duties. That is not recommended here. Krishna says, Man mana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, you do your duties, but think of me. You are a software engineer, no problem. You keep working, but while you are working on coding, you think about me. You are a housewife, you are cooking at home. While you are cooking, think of me. You may be anything, any profession. Arjuna is a warrior, but we are also battling with so many things. We are fighting our own wars. But while you are fighting your wars individually, think of Krishna. That is devotional purpose. That is what is recommended. Not that I escape in the name of, and they cannot do also. Many people who think, I just take God's name. It is soda bottle enthusiasm. You know what is soda bottle enthusiasm? Initially we are very enthusiastic. Bhagavad Gita sunna hai. Bhagavad Gita ko samajhna hai. And few sessions, they really want to come and understand. But after some time, that enthusiasm goes down. Arey, ye to chalta hai yaar. I just want to sleep. I want to enjoy my Sunday. Wonderful time. I want to. No, I cannot waste my time. Let me enjoy. Watch a movie. IPL is there. This is there. That is there. Let me watch a movie. So that is how we need to understand doing duty but thinking of Krishna. That is devotional service. So that takes time. And Chaitanya, I hope that answers your question. So another question Chaitanya had asked in the previous session was why so many people were blowing conch in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And it has been referred so much, so many shlokas are dedicated, saying that, Bhishma blew his conch, Pandavas were blowing his conch. What is the significance of blowing the conch? So blowing conch is a very auspicious sign. It's an auspicious woman. And it is also mentioned in the scriptures that blowing conch is mentioned in the scripture that how when you blow the conch, the Shankanada, it is very painful to the evil spirits. So when you blow the conch, it is as if pouring molten iron into the ears of the evil spirits. It drives them away. They cannot tolerate the pain of the sound of the blowing conch. So that is why it is auspicious to blow conch even at our homes. It is important that we blow conch. We should have Shankanada. Every day at least once we should blow the conch so that all the evil spirits will get lost from our home. Extremely important. And that's why in the temples also they blow the conch because it drives away all the evil spirits. That is how it is. So Achyutanji is asking, how does one practice detachment? So that is why Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam mena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. So with this sword of knowledge, when we have this knowledge, with this sword of knowledge we should break the attachments. We should break all the material attachments with the sword of knowledge. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya. So that is why we are here studying the Bhagavad Gita, because by understanding the principles of the Bhagavad Gita, we will develop that knowledge, and with this knowledge, we will be free from attachment, material attachment. We can break the attachment. Extremely important. So develop knowledge, and that is what we are doing now. We are developing knowledge, and very soon, gradually, Just like now, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is having all this attachment, he's full of attachment, but by the end of the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, Arjuna is saying, Krishna, I will do just the way you say. I will act according to your order. Karishye vachanam tava. So, by the end of Bhagavad Gita, hopefully, we will also, with this sort of knowledge, become free from all material attachment. So, it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. So, Vinod Chandan is asking here, how do we identify what is our calling in life? You're coming to this Bhagavad Gita sessions online, although we all are getting connected very mysteriously here. It is an indication for us that yes, that Supreme Lord as Paramatma is directing us, go and seek out for me. This is one possible reason and possible indication from the Lord that yes, come on, let's begin your spiritual journey here. So this might be your calling. Who knows? We don't know unless we are conscious about each and everything that is happening to us. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know you personally, but you see, the Lord, Paramatma within the heart, He knows how to connect. We are connected through internet today and able to speak with each other. But the Lord has super internet. As Paramatma, He is connected to everything in this universe. So He knows how to connect people. So He uses, I am just nimitta matra. I am just an instrument, that's all. So all of us also are getting connected here, and this might be our calling. This might be our calling. So be patient, and I'm sure a lot of wonderful things will happen. So before we end, I just want to let you all know that today is Yoga Day, and on this day we have discussed very beautifully this Yoga Shastra. This Bhagavad Gita is called Yoga Shastra. It is also called Manas Shastra. The greatest psychological study that if anybody wants to understand is the Bhagavad Gita. So this Yoga Shastra, it's the Manas Shastra. On this Yoga Day we have described and understood this beautiful Yoga Shastra. Today happens to be Father's Day also, I guess. And also it is solar eclipse today. So please take care and be safe until next few hours. I think until 2 p.m. I think it is a safe time for all of us to I have already sent a message yesterday, certain directions, certain do's and don'ts that we are supposed to do during this phase. And believe me or not, the best thing that we can do during solar eclipse is actually Veda Parayana, the Bhagavad Gita Parayana. That's what we are doing today. So after this session also, if you can read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, and until 2 p.m. if you can chant the holy name, this beautiful Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That will also help you a lot. So for the next few hours, please dedicate and invest some time in understanding spiritual life, in understanding the Bhagavad Gita, and also practicing the mantra meditation. That will be really, really very nice.